Then the one other one we're going to do exponential growth or decay formula, which you can tie this into all kinds of things. The biggest thing we probably look at is money. You can tie this into a lot of the loans that you take, car loans. House loans is a little different because it's more complicated. It's bigger money. But a lot of the loans that you do, you can kind of do this with it. And a lot of the things it's going to tie in with money, that may also tie into, if you think back to the decay formula, that's your carbon-14 dating. That if you start, as soon as you die, you've got 100% of your carbon that's in your bones. As soon as you start to die. Once you die, then the carbon starts to dissipate. So that's how they use a lot of the carbon-14 dating, is they do that based on, all right, if there's this much amount of carbon left in your bones, we think this is about how, long it should have been that you've, from the point of death that you had for that part of it. Okay, so here it is. It's A of t equals A times 1 plus R to the t power. And again, you can adapt this to loan payments. You can adapt this to all kinds of different things, and then you can always tweak it a little bit here and a little there. But your basic growth decay formula is basically that. The small a is your starting amount. A lot of times, if we're doing money, they put P for principal, which is your starting principal, that's your starting money amount. R is going to be your rate as a decimal, which means you've got to convert it. They're going to give it to you as a percentage. You've got to change it to a decimal. And then T is your time. And then the A parentheses T, that's the amount of whatever thing it is you're working with. So if it's money, this is how much money you're going to have after 10 years. If it's carbon-14, it's how much carbon-14 is left after 10 years. If it's exponential growth, if it's of a mode sport, maybe just the time after like 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 6 hours or something like that. Okay, so we're going to do money because most people like money. If you're Mr. Krabs, money, 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 money. Okay. All right, so let's say you got $7,000. Most of the time, if you did, you probably wouldn't have it because you'd have it blown in like 10 hours. So, if you have $7,000 to invest in a new bumper, we're going to throw out just a number, 20 years. And you can get it at 4% interest. How much money are you going to have? Okay, and this is a definite calculator question, because if you don't have a calculator, you cannot do this question. So this is not a test of, get a calculator if you need it. This is going to be a test of, okay, you will need a calculator. You must get a calculator for this one, because again, you just have to. I mean, there's no other way around this one. Okay, so based on that question, the A amount is your $7,000. Your rate is 4%. But if you change that to a decimal, that means you got to move it over 2 decimal places, so that would be 0.04. Our time is 20 years. So we're going to plug those numbers into that formula. And we're going to see what's going to happen. Okay, so our A is 7,000. We've got 1 plus 0.04 to the 20th power. And now the left part is this one. This is the part we won't ever do a whole lot with this one, but technically the left-hand side is going to be A of 20. So after 20 years, this will be the amount of money that we're going to have. And again, this one, you can do it by hand. You can do little bits and pieces of it, but honestly, this is a question And almost all the questions we've got here, you can just plug them straight in the calculator just like it's written. So we've got 7,000. We're going to do parentheses 1 plus. Now, if you do 1 plus 0.04, we know that's going to be 1.04, so we don't have to do the 1 plus in that case. Close off the parentheses, raise it to the 20th power. Hit your enter, and there you go, $15,337. And now, because it is money, you do have to round it off to a certain amount of cents. So we're going to round it off to 86 because the 2 doesn't bump it up. There we go. Okay. And again, they can change that from money to mold spores to, whatever, anything they want to do, but it's always going to come back to this basic formula of A times 1 plus R to the T. And they may show you one that they may tweak that just a little bit because this is the basic one we start with, but you can always tweak it to make it be, all kinds of other formulas that fit into what we're doing. So.